here, this is not very dissimilar from that. In other words, more or less akin to what is being done here, and therefore we intend to have these kind of collab with these centers in order to benefit the members who go abroad for any reason. If they want to go for job, they can do it, and we also have or in other words, if they get married, they go, then they can find an opportunity for some employment, fruitful employment. And I'll touch upon the Shahid Ki Beti later. Quickly, I'll touch upon some of the activities which we do. We have basically 4 national programs. Today is one national program for the corporate CS. Then we have one practicing company secretary national program that was recently held in Ayodhya on what is the date? On June 14th and 15th. It was held in Ayodhya. It was a very good program, a roaring success for us. And then we also have National Women's Conference. We find that currently more than 49% of the members are all women members. And in fact, among the students who are joining us, we find more than 50% of the students who are joining us are all girl students. So we find that the importance is there for women, and therefore we have a National Women's Conference as well. And that was held in the city of Bangalore in the month of March, because that coincided with the International Women's Day. Then our major program is, if I may say so, is the National Convention, where the congregation of members and students is pretty large, and on an average we have more than 1,500 to 1,800 members joining in. That program is going to be held later this year on the 8th, 9th and 10th of November in the city of Mumbai. That's a national program. In fact, the chairperson SEBI, Madam Madhavpuri Butch, has already consented to be the guest of honor for that program. We have yet to decide on the chief guest. So this is today's program. Yeah, today's on corporate. This is for the corporate CS transforming governance for Viksit Bharat. I want to highlight something about Viksit Bharat. I think you all know that India has been doing exceedingly well, and the GDP growth is phenomenal. I can tell you this. And because 10 years back, we were the 10th largest economy in the world. From there, currently we are now the 5th largest economy in the world, doing exceedingly well. And we expect that this growth is going to go further up. In fact, the government was aiming 5 trillion. And currently, our share capital, the capital market is up past the 5 trillion mark. And we are currently doing over 4 trillion. In 2025, they wanted to do, thanks to COVID, that's not been achievable. But anyway, the government is now aiming to be 10 trillion by 2030. What does it mean? It means that we will become the 3rd largest economy in the world after China, after US and China. So that is the position we are planning to occupy. That's the government aim, and we are working towards that. And if you want to see the reasoning behind it, why it is going to be beneficial for the profession, we find that the capital market is given a big boost. The capital market, which was around, in fact, the index, if you want to measure the robustness of the capital market, one of the main, this thing is the index itself. The index, which was about 25,000, BSE index, which was 25,000 10 years back, is now crossed 80,000 in a matter of 10 years. And the pundits who really predict what's happening in the market, their expectation is India will touch the 150,000 index by 2030. So this is the expectation from the people who are there in the market, and I'm sure it's an absolute possibility, not a distinct possibility, it's an absolute possibility. And when we talk about the capital market, the one profession which will come to the mind of anybody is that of the company secretary, because he is always heading the compliance part of the capital market as far as SEBI is concerned, as far as the company law is concerned. These are two crucial areas where the company secretaries play a very, very vital role. And of course, the corporate governance. Corporate governance, is to say the least, is one of the most important aspect of it, and we call ourselves the governance professional. And let me touch on some of the other activity. We are also planning to have a international conference in Middle East on the 4th, 5th, 6th of September. This is responsible investment for sustainable future. I'm sure all of you would realize that there's a great importance which is coming about on ESG, environment and social governance. And that is again, the G20 meet which was held in India a couple of years back highlighted the need for having this ESG in place in all the countries, and India is also committed to become carbon free by 2030. So we expect that ESG is a very important role, and most of the investors, foreign investors, when they make the investment, they are looking at that they are making an investment only in those companies which are looking at sustaining the environment for the future. So the climate change is making across the world. So this is going to be held on 4th, 5th of September. And we also have an international conference every year. We started 3 years back. We have already had 2 international conferences, one in UK and one in UAE. And this year we had in Singapore. And I'm mighty pleased to inform you that we had more than 100 members from India who traveled from India to Singapore for attending the conference. And that again was based on, where was it? Actually, it's not there. Okay. Initiatives for the students. We considering the fact that there is going to be huge demand for the profession, we are looking at how we can rope in more students joining the course. In fact, through your medium, I want to appeal to all of you to tell about the importance of this course, which I am going to highlight in the few words from now. In my discussion with the regulators, I've been told that the demand for professionals, there's going to be dearth of the professionals in the years to come. In other words, the demand is going to go so high. And we are targeting at least about 150,000 members by 2047, when the government is aiming to be one of the largest economy in the world, besides USA and China by 2047. That's the 100th year of independence. The Viksit Bharat 2047, we will be one of the most developed countries in the world. So this is a possibility, and when you are looking at it, currently we are only 70,000, so we need to have at least add on 80,000. So unless we have more students coming our way, we cannot have churn out more members. Therefore, because this profession is going to be a standard profession in the years to come. All of you would know about the fact that the government, the parliament passed a bill on arbitration and mediation. In fact, the Chief Justice is on record to say that if no further cases are filed in the courts, the current cases which are filed will take 2050 for everything to get resolved. In other words, they are saddled with a lot of cases coming in, and they don't have the time to resolve them. And therefore, they have passed this mediation and arbitration bill, where it is made mandatory that there should be a clause in every agreement for arbitration or mediation and arbitration. So, looking at that opportunity, we have opened a first ICSI ADR Center, International ADR Center in Noida on the 29th of February. It was opened through the hands of former Chief Justice of the country, Mr. Sadashivam. And we expect that more traction will be looking at more traction coming in. And once we have sufficient traction, then we plan to have replicate these ADR centers in some of the other large establishments which are there at the institute disposal, including the one in Newtown, Rajarhat. There we have a very large establishment. We may have one more international ADR center over there as well. On the MSME front, we find there is a lot of scope for our members. In fact, most of the entrepreneurs, they know more about the business, less about the compliance. So we handhold the businessmen to comply with because they don't have any exception for not compliant, and then the cost of non-compliance is pretty severe. And therefore, our members are fully involved in the MSME segment. They handhold the entrepreneurs to take them in their journey to make them a very successful businessman. There's also a new concept which has come about on social audit. In fact, the NGOs, I'm sure all of you know about the NGOs or non-profit organization can now raise money from the public. Now this is money which is being raised. They will issue a units to them, the public shareholders. We don't call them shareholders, we call them unit holders. But they cannot trade, and they can get it listed, but they cannot trade in the securities. It's more of a small-time contribution for a noble cause. Most of the NGOs are taking money for the purpose of developing some or doing some activity which will benefit the community at large. That's the purpose for which they are raising money, and they get them listed on the stock exchange. Currently about 8 to 9 units have already listed, and about nearly 45 to 50 are in the pipeline for getting listed in the social stock exchange. And there is more recognition which came our way by the regulator SEBI, who had announced that a company secretary can also be a social auditor. Even we call it social impact assessor. So the purpose of this assessor is to make sure the purpose for which the money has been raised has been spent only for the cost for which it is raised, and there is no siphoning of funds. And therefore that is a very important role our members will be playing in the years to come. We also have a concept of a UDIN. Any document which is certified, we have identified certain very important documents which are required to be certified. And those documents, the individual who is doing the certification has to generate a unique document identification number, UDIN. You cannot backdate it. If I am signing today, that has to be generated 7 days in advance or on date and then sign. You cannot do a backdating. That's where the problem comes in for professional, where people have been backdating documents that will not be allowed. And we expect that UDIN, and it's come to stay, we have already covered about a 10 to 15, 12 certification under the UDIN concept. And this is a very important decision which was taken.
30,000, with the number of members in practice is around 14,000.